How's it going, Twitch? My name is Skull, and on behalf of East Asia Soft, welcome to today's stream. Today, I am playing a game called Without a Voice. The blurb says, guide a former princess through her life in exile, and I assume I'm playing this because this releases this week. That's my assumption. So, anyway, you know what? Actually, I'm going to do this while I'm thinking about it. I really should. This is very unprofessional of me, but this is necessary for me to be able to tell you why I'm playing this today. Okay, this is a visual novel coming to consoles and PC later this week. That's why I'm playing it. Wow, a brand new VN. It's been a while since we played one of these, huh? So, yeah. All right, well, whoop, don't know how that happened. Let's go ahead and hop into it. The last visual novel I played, I'd like to say, was Secrets in Green. Yep, that was it. Okay, let's go ahead and check out all the options. We want to read everything. We want to do everything. Oh, this is interesting. Language. English or Brazilian Portuguese. Interesting. Check out the sound. Okay. So, looks like two people have voices. Cassidy and Elwyn. And other volume, whatever that is. Extras. Without a Voice is a Yuri visual novel released by indie dev group L to the Third Power. L3 is a team comprised of Lore, who handles all the writing, Lonnie, who handles all the visuals, and Lyska, who handles the editing. Originally planned for Yuri Game Jam 2016, it fell a little behind schedule and was finally completed in 2020. Wave's music is all composed by Exile. Wave 2.0 and onwards, as well as Blooming Edition content, was worked on by Karen Akimin Dio? I assume if it's the Japanese pronunciation. The extras menu, CG animations, and a ton of other bonuses were programmed by Theo. Special thanks to Triss for helping on the code, and the Queer Games Bundle for helping us afford the voice acting. Published by Bell House Studio Elan. Thanks so much for playing. If you can, please shoot us some feedback by reaching out on social media. Voice acting, voiceover production, and casting by Studio Coattails. Cassidy, Shara Kirby, and Elwyn Natalie Von Sestine. Alexander Justice Slocum, and additional voices by Scion. Voice director Scion, audio engineer. All the credits. Okay, cool. Please come back after completing the game. Lot of stuff here. Wow, there's a lot of stuff here. Okay. Let's go ahead and return to the front and actually start out, huh? Is it actually fully voice acted? Or is it like some VNs where they just have sometimes some lines? I guess we'll find out. When cold, cruel destiny has thee within her grasp. Hi, Andrea. Thou may endeavor bravely, dear, to change thy path. But fate careth not which twisted road you choose to take. You dance atop her palm with every choice you make. Day 1. It was a morning like any other. What's the triangle button do? Oh, it just makes everything go away. Cool. The tragedy soon to unfold would affect so few people that time would swiftly forget it. For those involved, however, that morning was a maelstrom, drawing them each in, closer and closer still. It all began innocently enough, with a certain exiled princess in a terrible predicament. Okay, it's not fully acted. Ah! Oh dear, I've run out of firewood. If only I'd noticed yesterday. This has caught me quite unawares. The ex-princess in question was named Cassidy, and she was the eldest child of the kingdom of Varamir. Varamir? What's that, you say? You've never heard of Varamir? One shouldn't be surprised. This all happened long before the universe summoned you into existence. The next shipment isn't due for a little while yet, but I cannot wait. I won't be able to cook or do laundry without a fire. So long had the princess had been living in this cottage alone that she'd taken to talking to herself, just to feel less lonely. Determined to gather some wood before sundown, Cassidy grabbed a hatchet and some linen and then quitted the place. Once outside, she paused, considering for the umpteenth time whether it would be best for her to lock the door. No one will come in anyway. My brother's agents never enter, and no one else travels this deep into the wood. Convincing herself so, Cassidy turned away and headed into the forest to begin her mission. Unfortunately, her determination and willpower were short-lived. As I thought, firewood isn't just lying on the ground, just waiting to be picked up. Though she brought the hatchet, she'd foolishly hoped she wouldn't have to use it. Faced with so many different types of trees, most of them quite large, she was unsure how to proceed. I love the blinking eye animation. That's a small touch that's really, really nice. Now that I think about it, how much firewood do I usually use at once? Oh, the more I try to remember, the more addled I get. Perhaps I'll just subsist on fruits and fungus until the next crate arrives. Without a... Holy cow, this is a short game. Okay, I just looked up on how long to beat, and it says to beat the main story is only 45 minutes. A completionist is 2 hours. Okay. Wow. Nothing wrong with a short game. Nothing wrong with a short visual novel either. I know how big of an undertaking that is. But I don't know. I kind of thought for something this high production it would be longer. This is a really high production game. A timely stomach growl quickly put a stop to such plans. Cassidy let out a sigh. For now, then, I shall return to my favorite place. It always brings me peace. That place holds some magic I've always felt. I'm sure I shall be able to think of something once I'm there. Her spirit restored, Cassidy hefted her linen satchel a little higher. It was not long until she would be comfortable again, she thought. Why, you're as radiant as ever. There were many views to take pleasure in this forest, but this one in particular always brought her delight. Though she had lived here now for some seasons, the tree before her seemed never to change. I don't know much about wisteria. Are they meant to stay in bloom year-round? Perhaps the winters here are mild. Wisteria shall wither not when flakes of winter fall, yet all must someday persist while heeding nature's call. But nature wields not power o'er us all. A clear wind chime voice caught Cassidy's attention. Cassidy's heart stuck in her throat as she followed the sound and caught sight of the woman sitting there. She had never before seen a woman so breathtakingly beautiful. My apologies for interrupting your poem, madam. It was only a couplet. You did not interrupt so much as improve it. Oh, then all the better. But it is not safe to be so deep in the wood. Tarry not. I live here. It is quite safe, I assure you. I dare say I have lived here much longer than you have. No harm has ever come to me in these woods. Perhaps our experiences merely differ. Certainly, I concede your point. Cassidy paused a long while, unsure of how to carry on the conversation. How strange. I used to make small talk with all the courtiers as if it were nothing. Has time truly affected me so? You say you live here? I do. I have never seen you. I'm quite sure of it. I would remember someone like you. Whereabouts do you live, if you do not mind my asking? Hardly a stone's throw from where we now stand. Well, let's do a save here. Can I save? Can I go back? Save now. Okay. Have to save twice. You can't save in the actual in this part. It won't let you. That's fine. How can that be? And now we save there again. This music is nice. I love the flute and the harp. Oh, it's beautiful. It's so peaceful. I suppose she does not wish to expose where she lives to an utter stranger. That is reasonable. Sorry. She seems to be quite on her guard. I envy your view of this lovely place. Do not envy me. What could that mean? How droll. Oh, where are my manners? My name is Cassidy. I, too, live nearby. You may call me Elowen. Elowen. What a lovely name. Besides, I was already aware that you lived nearby. What? How? I have seen you before, albeit from a distance. You come here often. Oh dear, I must have been making a complete fool of myself. I am sorry that you've had to witness that. Cassidy thought back to all the complaining she'd done under this tree, and all the times she'd sullied herself trying to gather fruit. There were many other truly mortifying memories. She stared at the ground in shame. When she looked up, however, Elowen was smiling. Cassidy felt her tension wane. So, what brings you back to this place? I wanted to calm myself. Calm yourself? What for? What could possibly cause you distress? What a sour tone. Does she think I just daydream and laze about all day? Many things. I'll have you know that at this very minute, I am on a mission that might mean the difference between life and death. Oh? And yet you dally here. What could this mission involve, pray tell?
I see my presence is not wanted here. I shall return to my search forthwith.
Just as she was about to turn away and leave, Elwyn and the wisteria tree behind, Cassidy heard Elwyn laugh softly. It was a bewitching sound.
I see I have offended my lady. No offense was meant, I can assure. Really? Truly, I would never wish to cause you pain. Tell me of your mission. I have run out of firewood.
Upon hearing this, Elwyn stood up and dusted herself off.
Allow me to be of service. Oh no, I couldn't possibly Please, this tree suffers so much every time you shed your tears and frustration upon it.
Yet, despite her abrasive words, Elwyn was tirelessly helpful. It was she who taught Cassidy to gather smaller bits of kindling and use the hatchet when that proved insufficient.
If you wrap these smaller branches together, they shall burn just fine. I see. Oh, I am certainly glad not to have to chop down a whole tree. I was worried about that. Yes, once felled, a tree can never rise again. Take of them their fruits, their branches, but spare them their roots and lifeblood.
That's a tongue twister.
Lifeblood? Do trees have blood? This forest is quite old, you know. I wish it would stay forever this way, but man has trouble leaving things be.
The disparity between Elwyn's indifferent expression and the biting tone of her voice made Cassidy's heart ache. I gotta back up and save here, once again. She must have had a bad experience, or she must love trees. I'm going with the bad experience.
We humans are meddlesome things, aren't we?
Oh, I did that wrong. Hang on. Okay, return, go back. Back again. Save to that spot. And delete that one. There we go. That's correct. Must have had a bad experience. Yep.
Perhaps I'm making too light of her feelings. I thought that was rather an intelligent thing to say. You truly love this forest. Yes, in fact, I feel like I am a part of it, and it is a part of me. How beautiful.
The two continued through the forest, gathering wood and passing the time with easy conversation. As they walked leisurely, the sun began to sink. Oh man, sunsets in a beautiful autumn, like old-timey forest, it's just so gorgeous. It really is. Look at this. So too did the satchel of wood over Cassidy's shoulder sag.
It seems that you've gathered plenty of wood now. Surely that will be enough. You're right.
The time had quite gotten away from the exiled princess. Now that their afternoon together was coming to an end, Cassidy was afraid. Why is she exiled, I wonder? Afraid and hopeful, which was perhaps more dangerous still.
Then... Excuse me, Miss Elwyn. Yes? Might we meet again? You've no idea how happy I am to meet another person living in this wood. And a woman at that.
Yet the expression on Elowen's face showed that she had, in fact, some idea.
I was about to suggest the same. You might find me in this area most afternoons. I see. Then, until tomorrow. Would that we meet so soon, my lady.
With that, Elowen bowed and left.
Her steps make almost no sound. What a graceful woman. Not just beautiful, but elegant and smart.
As she walked back to her cottage, so filled with thoughts of Elowen was her head, that Cassidy forgot all about her fatigue and the weight of her burden.
She certainly is opinionated, but she must have so much more experience living independently than I. I hope I am not a bother to her.
And with that, the once princess returned home, blissfully unaware of the roots that were this very moment grabbing hold of her heels and pulling her beneath. Why is this called Without a Voice, I wonder? What's the significance of that? It is said a fool repeats his days, changing not but expecting change. I posit these men are by routine hog-tied. They expect not and are by not satisfied. Day 2. That's kind of an eerie music box, isn't it? There is a sort of melancholy one feels when closing a book for the final time, feeling its last words wash over you as you leave its world and return to your own life. It was an ennui. I remember Inside Out too. It was an ennui that Cassidy had grown used to. In her former life, she had received the best education that money and bribery might buy. Now, that bright mind was left to languish, fed by nothing more than a single new book each fortnight. By now, Cassidy was in the habit of reading very slowly indeed. She shut her latest tome and placed it upon the table next to her half-written letter to her brother.
I never sound quite myself in those letters. How do you write from a distance to one whom you once saw daily? And how do you write anything at all when your life has grown so
dull? She decided to pen a few more sentences on how moved she felt after reading the book and how profoundly distressed she was by the end of it.
Family is important, but so too is recognizing the value of what you have before it is too late. If only the king had realized what a wonderful daughter he had. And I hope that you realize how much you are loved by me, your one and only sister.
She paused, overcome by sheer feeling, and decided to keep that final bit to herself. It was too desperate for comfort, and princesses did not whinge so.
No, that won't do at all. How unbecoming.
With a sigh, Cassidy stared at the crackling fire. She had more than enough firewood now to last until her next shipment of it. The sight reminded her of Elowen.
I wonder what Elowen is doing at this very moment.
She could not fathom. The day-to-day life of such a mysterious personage was utterly beyond her imagination. Her curiosity so engaged it was now impossible to ignore. I also got to say, I really love the old way of speaking here. It's so elegant. We don't speak like this anymore. We don't talk like this anymore. And so the fair Cassidy resolved herself to take a walk and casually seek the other woman out.
Perhaps I'll even stumble across where she lives today. Wouldn't it be exciting to surprise her at her home?
Thinking nothing at all of how inconvenient, how overly forward and impertinent it might be, she departed immediately. Once outside, Cassidy took in a lungful of crisp forest air.
How lovely it is today. Hardly a cloud in the sky.
She took measured steps into the forest, constantly scanning the area around her, on the lookout for this elusive domicile.
Might Elowen live in a cottage like mine? She is so elegant. I cannot imagine her doing housework. Then again, I could hardly imagine myself doing housework not so long ago. Oh, how time changes a person.
Cassidy reached her beloved wisteria tree before long and eagerly drank in the sight of it. She ran up to the tree and encircled it with her arms as if meaning to embrace it.
Hello, dear tree. You're looking as lovely as ever today, though a certain someone sits not beneath your boughs this afternoon.
She leaned to one side and then another, looking around the tree and into the forest to see if she might spy a window or the billowing of chimney smoke. Sadly, she could make out only more trees.
I can't suppose that Elowen lives in a tree house, does she? Certainly not.
Oh! Startled, Cassidy jumped, her foot catching unhappily on one of the tree's roots, sending her flailing forward.
Careful!
Elowen's arms shot out at once, her vice-like grip snaring the once princess just in time. Ah, she's blushing.
Oh, they touched hands.
Elowen's touch was so cold, yet her movements decisive. Cassidy's heart raced.
Was she truly worried for me?
It took Cassidy several moments to regain her composure. Elowen, too, looked a bit shaken.
Thank goodness you arrived when you did. Though, truth be told, if you hadn't startled me so, I would not have fallen. Is that so? I shall endeavor to be less frightening in the future, then. Oh dear, she may have mistaken my meaning. I was only trying to cover up my embarrassment.
Back up, save. Right there, and right there. Okay, I need to back up and see. I shall endeavor to be less frightening in the future. I'm going to go with... Oh, this one's less obvious of what I want to do, actually. Shoot, I'm not sure. I'm going with that's not necessary. That might not be correct, but that's what I'm going with. If there is, in fact, a correct in this game.
I don't understand what you mean. I certainly don't think you're frightening. Oh? Your earlier words seem to suggest otherwise. I was merely... Oh, never mind. How confusing you are. Still, how curious it is for us to be meeting here again. You come here often. I live nearby. What is curious about it? I'm merely saying that it's serendipitous. It must be fate. Fate has nothing to do with it, I assure you. Oh, but it's so much more romantic to think of it as fate. I can think of nothing less romantic than fate. Perhaps this is something not yet possible for you to understand. Don't speak as though you're much older and wiser than me.
Elowen laughed a little.
How old are you, anyway? How old do you think?
Cassidy stared at Elowen, gazing deeply into her eyes, as if she might find the other woman's secrets there.
Older than I first thought, perhaps. A wise answer.
That was the correct answer. Okay, Cassidy lived to see another day. She learned quickly. Elwyn tipped her head slightly, the motion seeming to indicate a desire to walk on. Cassidy was only too happy to comply. Together, the women strolled. Their time together was marked by companionable silence. Companionable. That's a word. Cassidy, never before a quiet girl, was desperate to fill it, but what conversation might pique Elowyn's interest was unclear. She peered shyly at Elowyn's face in profile, so striking and noble did it seem.
She has the air of an aristocrat. What could someone like she be doing living in the forest? Then again, am I not in the same position? Perhaps it is something she finds difficult to speak of.
An icy gust of wind whistled through the clearing, causing Cassidy to shiver and rub her bare arms.
The sun will be setting soon and it'll grow colder. Perhaps you should...
It was then that the question Cassidy had been ruminating on over all afternoon burst forward.
Would you like to come to my cottage?
Elowyn appeared quite overcome.
Is that wise? Whatever do you mean? How can you extend such an invitation to one such as me, whom you barely know? You are entirely too trusting.
I think she's entirely too hummina, personally, but...
I'm surprised at you. Two solitary women ought to stick together out in these woods. Besides, who else have I to invite? That is, I sometimes feel quite lonely out here, don't you?
Elowyn turned her head slightly and gazed into the forest behind them, behind them, as if peering at something only she could see.
Loneliness, then. I see. Very well. I will take you up on your offer.
Though puzzled by Elowyn's hesitation, Cassidy was overjoyed that her invitation had been accepted. There was a spring in her step as she led the other woman to her home. It was only in front of the cottage that Cassidy suddenly understood what an impetuous thing it was that she was doing.
Is the house clean enough?
She could not seem to recall when she had last swept or aired out her bedding.
Is this where you live? Yes. It's charming. Thank you. I wish I could take more credit for that. The house was here long before I arrived. Even the furniture is not truly my own. Still, it suits you. Thank you.
Bolstered by Elowyn's reaction, Cassidy finally gained the courage to follow through. She opened the door wide enough, gesturing for the other woman to enter. If this game does have voice acting in it, and these two characters are voice acted, I'm going to be very curious to see how close my takes on the voices are when we get to that point. As Elowyn did so, with her usual slow, measured steps, Cassidy could not help but notice the other woman's feet, clearly visible in the slippers she wore.
Her toes are curled. How odd.
All right, here we go. Unsolicited feet pics. Link in the description. They stayed that way even as Elowyn entered the house.
Perhaps her manner of walking is not purely for the sake of elegance, but also necessity.
Had Elowyn some sort of pain in her feet? Cassidy pondered on this and resolved to ask about it when the opportunity arose.
It is quite spacious. You live here alone? That's right. It's not so bad. I don't have anyone to tell me what to do or where to go. I have a freedom now that I'd never known before.
A stupid nose.
Perhaps. But sometimes I believe that being tied down to something is easier. If you don't realize you're being strangled, It's just a pleasant, light-headed feeling. Huh? I don't really understand. It's all right if you don't.
Elowen walked slowly from one part of the room to the next, her fingertips ghosting over every surface. She looked to be seeking the essence of each object, taking in every minute flaw and deciphering its true nature. Cassidy wondered what Elowen might discover about her if only she allowed it, if only she dared. It was unbearably quiet. Just then, Elowen came across the book Cassidy had finished reading.
Oh, that's a book my brother sent to me. I get so frightfully bored here that these books have become my sanctuary. I'm expecting a new shipment soon. Your brother?
Elowen was silent for a time, digesting that new information. And then her eyes fell on the half-finished letter haphazardly placed next to the book. Cassidy followed her gaze. Eyes wide, she leapt forward to snatch the letter away. How much had the other woman seen? She colored in mortification.
Your brother is far away from here. Yes. Is it beautiful, the place where you once both lived? I have not once seen its equal. More beautiful than this cottage prison of yours?
Cassidy could not hide her surprise at Elowen's poisonous choice of words, nor could she hide her sudden tears. Back, save. I'm trying to remember. We chose the second one, right? Okay. I think we're going with It's Not Like That. Yeah, that's right. Okay. She dried her eyes delicately, but with determination. Now was not the time for tears.
Things are complicated. It is not as clear-cut as you seem to believe. Undoubtedly, the affairs of men oft are. However, all that I need to know is that he is there and you are here. That he is responsible for that difference can be inferred quite easily. You're a fast reader to be able to jump to such conclusions so swiftly. I am not unhappy here, Elowen. Can you say that truly, with an unclouded heart?
Elowen peered into Cassidy's eyes, and their gazes held like two magnets pulling each other in closer and closer still. Yet Cassidy could not do it. She could not look Elowen in the eye and tell an untruth. Elowen looked to the window.
It has gotten dark. Oh my, how rude of me! I have not offered you tea or any refreshment. Do not trouble yourself on my account. I must away. I did not mean to impose for so long. You are hardly an imposition. You are kind and good.
Cassidy's face lit up.
Kind and good things do not survive long in a world such as ours.
And just as quickly as it had come, the sudden rush of delight left her. Bowing her head, the other woman was out the door and gone, leaving hurt and confusion in her wake. When she looked out the window to glimpse the same view that Elowen had just beheld, what Cassidy saw before her was but a bleak uncertainty. Without wisdom or experience, storms shall ill-weathered be. But when you are nearby, dear one, no storms can bother me. Day 3. The exiled princess paused on the very first line of her letter.
Is that too familiar? Will he dislike it?
The brother of her memory was a kind boy, but rather stiff and particularly mindful of decorum. Following the events of the previous evening, Cassidy felt compelled to rewrite her half-finished letter. Well, not that Alexander will care. I want Alexander to see me at my best. Want him to see it at our best. That's what we want. I guess.
I do not wish to disappoint him or bore him with minutiae. My original draft.
She sighed, recalling the contents of the now ripped up pages.
I pined far too much. I would never whine, of course, but my words were drawing near that.
She was afraid to admit, even to herself, how much she missed her brother. Cassidy finished the letter without much of a fuss. She wrote briefly of Elowen, a passerby, helping her find firewood. Kind of hard to read this. To my dear Alexander, I hope that this letter finds you well, dear brother. I have greatly enjoyed the last book you sent me. However, it had such a sad ending. Even though the father loved his youngest daughter so, it all came to nothing in the end. Both of them died. Can there be any worse fate than to die at your loved one's hand? I dare say not. Is this a real book? The book has given me much to think about, though I do hope you send a happier tome next time. I do begin to tire of reading such dreary works. My life lived well, thanks. I can't read this. Let me try. My life here is not sad, you see. I have lived well thanks to your kindness. I did run into some trouble the other day when I ran out of firewood, but a passerby helped me to gather more, so all was well. Most of the contents, however, were in regards to the book she had recently finished.
Perhaps this will encourage my dear brother to send me more.
When Cassidy looked out the window, she realized the sun had started to set.
Oh dear, was I revising for so long? Silly me.
She folded up her letter and placed it in an envelope, sealing it with the royal wax seal she was given. She stood and stretched her arms above her head.
I have hardly moved all day. That is not good.
Cassidy walked to the front of the cottage, where she normally left her letters halfway beneath the door for an agent to collect. She had just stuffed her letter under the door when...
Princess?
Cassidy's blood ran cold for just a moment. Yet she soon realized who was addressing her and relaxed.
You surprised me, Elowen.
She spoke to the other woman through the half-opened window at the front of the cottage.
I am no princess, you know. Is that so? You seem like one to me.
Cassidy was not sure how to respond to that sentiment.
Have I casually let slip that I was a princess? I did not realize that I still behaved in the manner of one. Lifelong habits cannot be so soon disregarded, it seems. There's an envelope under the door. Oh, yes, do leave it there. It's outgoing. Outgoing?
Elowen paused for a long while, but said no more of the subject.
May I come in? Of course! I'm so sorry. I should have invited you sooner. I was so taken aback, you see. I did not mean to surprise you so. It's all right. A happy surprise. I am so glad to see you.
She opened the door and ushered Elowen inside. This time, Cassidy did not forget her manners. She quickly flew into the kitchen to make her guests some tea and pulled out the crackers she'd set aside for just such an occasion. Elwyn politely sipped the tea, but did not touch the crackers. We're saving here and here. I suppose she's eaten already. I wonder why she does not eat. Let's go with I wonder why she does not eat.
I wonder why she does not eat. Perhaps these are not to her taste. It seems a waste when I saved these crackers purposefully in order to be a good hostess when next she came.
Though she was confused, Cassidy quietly ate a cracker or two before putting the tray away. The two women talked pleasantries for some time, though it became rather apparent that Elwyn's attention lay elsewhere.
Is everything quite all right? Why do you ask? You seem somewhat reserved. That is more than usual. That letter. You said it was outgoing. Is that the letter you wrote your brother? Oh, yes. If I leave the letters there, someone will collect it. Someone? How can that be? You do not go into town to have your mail delivered?
She was at a loss as to how to explain. Cassidy herself knew that her situation was extraordinary.
You see, though I live alone, I am well taken care of. My brother provides everything. Every fortnight or so, his agents deliver food and supplies to me. Someone is around to collect my outgoing letters once or twice a day. I only ever send my brother letters, of course. I was not wrong when I said this place was like a jail. Why do you live here alone when he clearly has enough resources to take care of you?
Cassidy shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Elwyn's eyes seemed not to look at her so much as bore into her soul. Cassidy felt judged and deemed unworthy, though she had not yet responded to Elwyn's inquiry. No matter how she phrased it in her head, it sounded awful.
I am here for my own safety.
She took a deep breath.
When you called me princess earlier, you were not far off the mark. I once was a princess, though I am no longer. After my father, the king's death, I was to inherit the throne, but our barons in Parliament voted no confidence. Worse, I was then handed trumped-up charges of treason. I very well could have been executed. Instead, my younger brother intervened on my behalf. So, you are alive, in exile, but alive.
The former princess surprised herself at the depths of her own feelings, at the desperation with which she tried to convince herself, especially herself, that this was all for the best.
It's not so terrible. This cottage is lovely. It is a good thing to be among nature like this. How can you be so positive? What? You speak so fondly of your brother when he is the one who exiled you, who left you here to rot in isolation. It's not like that, Elwyn. What part of what I said is false? Tell me. It's not that simple. It is not Alexander's fault.
She found herself repeating her thoughts on the matter mechanically, things she only half believed. She had said all these things before. It seems she no more believed them now.
As a result of your dear Alexander's intervention, you were exiled, were you not? Who's to say he was not responsible for the unfavorable vote in the first place? Why would he do that? What would he have to gain?
The throne?
It is not my brother's fault. He could have let them kill me, but I am alive thanks to him. I've previously stated my belief that you are kind and good. I have now revised my opinion. You are a blind fool. As I am mute, you are blind, altogether too blind to the selfish ways of the world. What is your meaning? It is nothing. Believe in your brother all you wish, but you cannot deny that there is truth to what I've said.
What do you mean, just as she is a mute? Elowen rose from her seat in one swift movement and headed for the door.
Good night, Princess. I am Princess no longer. Mock me not, I beg you.
Just like that, she was gone, disappeared into the dark. Cassidy wrapped her arms around her torso, hugging herself for comfort in the wake of Elowen's sudden, indignant anger. Feeling comfort none, the former princess squeezed her eyes shut.
Oh, Alexander, if only she knew you as I do, then she would understand.
There is a treasure that can't be bought, no matter how long it may be sought. It is something priceless yet free. I speak, of course, of an apology. Day 4. After a restless sleep, Cassidy awoke to the sun's harsh rays. Been there. She stretched, arching her back to release the tension there. Finally, her gaze went to the front door. There was a distinct lack of a letter beneath it.
They must have come in the night. How diligent my brother's agents are.
You are a blind fool. All at once, the memories of her argument with Elowen nearly knocked the wind out of her, if you could call that an argument.
I cannot believe I divulged such secrets to someone I barely know.
Cassidy was puzzled both at herself and at Elowen's odd behavior. Save there and there. What a shock that was. Sure.
What a shock that was. I had thought her a refined, elegant personage, but her rage was palpable and quite unseemly. I must ask her about her own life. We know so little about each other, it's no wonder she would react that way. One can only draw conclusions based on what one already knows.
Presently, there was a knock at the door. Given how long it had been since her last shipment, as well as the fact that Elowen was far more likely to announce her presence with her words, Cassidy could draw but one conclusion. She waited nearly 10 minutes before opening the door. It was protocol. She knew not who her brother sent, and it was unclear whether they knew whom they were delivering to. The royal family of Varamir had a distinctive look to them. It would not do for too many people to know who she was, or that a former princess dwelled there. When she finally allowed herself to open the door, she found a large wooden crate, not unlike the previous ones. Sitting atop the crate's contents was a sealed envelope. Cassidy instantly recognized the severe cursive. To my sister, I am glad to hear that you are adjusting well to life at the cottage. Doubtless there are many things that challenge you, given your former life, but we must all make the best of things. I know that you have too much time on your hands, so I have been sure to enclose more books for you to read. You may one day be called upon to marry well for the advantage of king and country. As such, it is of the utmost importance that you keep your mind sharp and your hands unidle. Can feel the love all the way over here, Alex boy. That last part seemed to have been written later, as the script looked slightly different. I think of you often. I worry about you more often still. Be safe in the forest and keep to yourself, though I know that is difficult for you. Please await my next letter. I remain your loyal brother. She read over the letter many times, trying her best to glean information from it.
Haha, Alexander has always been a little awkward. I'm sure that last bit was added with some reluctance after one of his advisors chastised him for the content of the letter.
She smiled and ran her fingertips along the part that read, I think of you often. But then she remembered the sentence about marriage. Which one did I go with? I went with that one. I don't want to marry. I am running out of save slots.
I never considered marriage, even before my exile. Can a noble or royal from another nation be content with a wife who has been living in the woods? Can I even be content myself in such a marriage?
The letter did not raise her spirits as much as letters from Alexander usually did. The implication of it weighed on her.
Of course I must be useful to the kingdom somehow. Why else would I be alive? If I can be of use, even as a disgraced princess.
Cassidy sighed. She could not finish that thought. All of a sudden, Cassidy wanted nothing but to see Eowyn again.
I will seek her out. I must.
The other woman's presence would certainly be a salve for her current mood. That was her reasoning, and she swiftly acted upon it. Cassidy set the crate away inside the cottage and then set out. You think that Eowyn wants to see her after what happened last night? After a long, fruitless walk about the forest, she arrived in front of the wisteria tree.
Eowyn, princess. I am no longer a princess. Just because you no longer live in a castle does not mean you are no longer a princess.
Cassidy was reminded of the word marriage once again. Eowyn was right. She was still considered a princess insofar as a princess could be useful. A long silence passed between them. Both were conscious, no doubt, of the argument that had transpired between them, an argument they had not yet resolved.
I am sorry.
Eowyn's eyes widened almost imperceptibly, but Cassidy, staring straight into the other woman's face as she was, took note. There's our bot. Be gone, bot. Do better next time. You're slipping. You're slipping, whoever programs these bots. You should be ashamed. Get better. Get on top of your game.
I should not have burdened you with my circumstances to begin with. But you were only worried for me. I should have been more sensitive in my explanation. Now...
Cassidy was struck by the sight of Elwyn's soft smile as she laughed. The former princess's heart fluttered, and her brother's letter was promptly forgotten.
It is nothing. It would seem that I, too, am quite the fool.
The air thusly cleared. The two women were able to enjoy the rest of their day together. They whiled the time away in companionable satisfaction. That night, Cassidy drifted off to sleep with a full heart. The strings of love are oft unseen, though wrapped around you they may be. When tied fast, none can come between, nor challenge humble fate's decree. Day 5. 45-minute game, huh? This might be the final day.
Ah, how beautiful it is today. Indeed.
Elwyn had surprised Cassidy early that morning, arriving at her front door without warning. Though
Elwyn didn't even knock, silly creature.
Okay, I'm curious. What do the trophies look like? We haven't even seen that guy. Who's this guy? How many endings are there? How many endings are there? Golly! Okay. Wow.
I wonder if she would have left if I hadn't seen her and opened the door.
The thought bothered her almost as much as the notion that Elwyn might not yearn for Cassidy's company the way Cassidy did for hers. After some time spent lingering, both paralyzed by indecision, they decided to go on a leisurely nature walk. For the next few hours, they strolled through the forest together, stopping here and there to pick berries or mushrooms.
That one is poisonous. Do not touch it. Right.
Cassidy drew her hand back in mortified alarm.
It would not do for your lovely skin to be marred by poisonous spores.
Cassidy hazarded a glance at the other woman's face, but Elwyn looked as unflappable as ever.
Poisonous?
We went with this one. Did we go with that? Yes, we went with that. And that. How do you know so much? Seems obvious. I wish that you could save on a choice screen. That would make it a little easier to organize.
You know so much about the flora and fauna here. However, did you learn it all? I have lived here many years. In that time, I have witnessed many interesting things. I have learned much, letting the people who pass through educate me. However... It's been a solitary life. I have seen much, but experienced little. Elwyn. I have long felt like someone on the outside looking in on a world I could never touch.
There was a melancholy in Elwyn's countenance that Cassidy had not yet seen, nor even thought the woman capable of. The Elwyn she knew was dignified, taking such charge of her emotions that none ever showed.
I have not known her for long, of course. Perhaps that was merely how she comports herself around those of little acquaintance. What made you decide to reach out to me? Reach out? That is...
She thought back to their first meeting, the way her own heart had leaped at the sight of Elwyn. And Elwyn had known all about her, had apparently been watching her for some time.
You didn't have to be sitting under the tree that day. You could have continued watching me from afar. But you found me. You spoke to me. And I'm so glad she did, but I fear she might call me silly if I say such a thing. I thought you delectably beautiful.
Delicately beautiful. Delectable. Golly. The matter-of-fact way that Elwyn said this struck Cassidy. She was flattered, of course, yet part of her was also worried. Beauty was not something lasting. It would be a shaking foundation for any relationship. If it had been a courtier complimenting her beauty, Cassidy might have taken it better. But this was Elwyn, a woman of whom she was becoming increasingly fond.
Thoughts? That's past tense, is it not? What do you think of me now? I still think you exceedingly beautiful, but dainty and delicate you are not. You are far from being the poised princess I took you for.
Cassidy winced and her mouth formed a little pout as she turned her eyes to the ground.
As I thought. It is to be expected. Someone as graceful as Elwyn would, of course, find me lacking. You are not what I expected, but I believe that might be for the better.
Slowly, Cassidy tilted her face up, her eyes growing large with disbelief.
For the better? You are always exceeding my expectations. I wonder if the other people I allowed to come and go would have as well had I let them so near. Well, it may be selfish of me, but I'm truly happy you let the others go. I'm glad that I'm the only person you allowed close. I'm sorry that makes me sound so ugly. No uglier than I.
Suddenly, in Cassidy's eyes, Elwyn looked so very haggard. She peered through the polished veneer and saw a woman who was tired and hungry.
Are you all right?
In a blink, Elwyn appeared to be the same as always.
I am fine.
Even so, Cassidy could not shake the feeling that something was off.
Are you quite sure? You seem tired.
Elwyn was silent for a long while.
Yes. Perhaps I am tired. Forgive me, I am not used to the midday sun.
It occurred to Cassidy then that she had never seen Elwyn in the morning before.
Could she be something of a night owl? I hadn't supposed it. And here I invited her to walk with me underneath the full blaze of the sun. How thoughtless am I! Elwyn. Yes? Well, why don't you stay with me at my cottage tonight? What? Well, I am worried about you, and it can't be easy being a woman and living alone.
She knew this best of all. Somebody just got a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Someone just rushed past it at least 50.
I would be much more at ease if you would come with me tonight. Let us break bread together and while away the night in comfort.
She was not expecting Elwyn to accept. Not Elwyn, who had reacted so strongly to an invitation merely a few days earlier. And yet...
All right. Really? Would it be better if I returned to my home? No! I just was worried that you would not accept. I realized that it was not very dainty to be so forward.
At this, Elwyn finally smiled. Cassie's heart felt akin to an acrobat at the sight, doing backflips and pirouettes in joy.
It would be my honor to accompany you. It may do us both some good.
As ever, Cassidy was far too excited to hear the latter. Looking forward to a night with her new favorite person, she had already changed course and started along the path home. Cassidy closed the front door behind them and went to the kitchen to put away the plants they'd gathered.
Is there anything I can help with? Leave it to me. Just have a seat and rest. You really do look tired.
All right. While she put her affairs in order in the kitchen, Cassidy couldn't help but think back to the things Elowen had said.
She said that she likes me the way that I am. That's so kind.
She felt a deep sense of warmth and satisfaction, the likes of which she had not felt in a long time. Cassidy returned to the living room a short while later, 2 cups of tea in hand.
Oh!
She found Elowen asleep, slumped on the divan.
Poor thing. She must have been exhausted.
There was a loose strand of hair in front of Elowen's face. Cassidy reached down and tucked behind her ear.
She looks so innocent when she's asleep.
Chuckling to herself, Cassidy let Elowen rest and passed some quiet time reading by the other woman's side. Night soon fell, and the pair supped together. Ooh, I like this place at night. This is pretty.
She still isn't eating anything. She had plenty of tea earlier, but could it be that she's foreign? Perhaps she's too polite to say that it's not to her taste.
So, things we know about Elowen. She walks on curled toes. She said that she's a mute, whatever that means, and she's not eating. What does all this mean? Elowen, unaware of being observed so directly, delicately sipped a glass of water.
Are you full? I am satisfied. How can you be when you didn't eat anything? I simply am not hungry at this very moment. I see.
Her tone left no room for argument. After dinner, Cassidy cleared the plates and things away and began to get the room ready for sleep. The cottage was not large. Her parlor had to double as her bedroom out of necessity. It was all well and good for a single person, but now that another had been added, Cassidy became acutely aware of the lack of space.
There's only one bed. I do not mind sleeping on the divan. I already did earlier. Once again, I am sorry that I didn't wake you up. You just looked so at peace. I could not bear to wake you up. I'm embarrassed to have allowed you to see me in such a state. I only fear... No, it is nothing. I will gladly sleep on the divan or the ground. I am not choosy. Oh, that won't do at all. You're a guest.
Cassidy gulped. Truth be told, she had one other, much more preferable arrangement in mind.
We could share the bed. There's room enough for 2. I notice you do not offer to sleep on the divan.
Struck by her own lack of graciousness, Cassidy bit her lip, cowed into silence.
I am only teasing. If you do not mind being so snug, I will be happy to share the space with you. Nothing would please me more than to be so close to you.
I mean, yes, wonderful. I shall fetch another pillow then. Real subtle. She flew out of the room to retrieve a spare pillow from the closet, face burning with embarrassment. Daw. They're so cute together.
Do you have enough space? You're not too cramped. I am fine. Truth be told, I do not mind the proximity. There was a faraway look in Elowen's eyes. I'd been alone for so long, until you came. How did you come to live here in the forest? Where is your family? Oh. Boy. Okay. We picked this one. I am running out of slots. Why the hesitation? I am almost out of slots. It is a simple question, is it not? Why does she have such trouble talking about it? Though I suppose my own situation was not so simple to speak of. Has her family gone away? Elowen, with her mouth in a grim straight line, stared at Cassidy. It is a trying subject. I'm not quite sure where to begin. She took a deep breath. I have lived here all my life. Once I was not alone, but... Elowen paused and sighed. You remember the wisteria tree? Of course! That's my favorite place in the entire forest. Have you noticed that there are no other wisteria trees around it? Now that you mention it... She never had thought about it, but as Cassidy searched her memories, she realized that Elowen was correct. You're right. I wonder why that is. There's an even older wisteria tree deep in the forest, but now those are the only two left, and they are so far from each other. So it is with me. That poetry is, that's good. That's good. Cassidy found her choice of words puzzling, but nodded. I once had siblings. They have long since departed, so I don't really have family here anymore. Others have come and gone, as I said, but I could not relate to them. I watched them from afar without entering their lives and did not mourn them when they left mine. And so the years went by. Cassidy snuggled just a little bit closer to the other woman, as if to show meaning through actions where words might fail. And so they passed the night together in pleasant company and warm conversation. Well, that was not the last day. When the sunshine blazes down, I soon begin to wish for rain. But when you've gone away, my dear, I soon long for the sun again. Day 6. Excuse me. Cassidy awoke alone with the cold space beside her. Again, she's gone in the morning. What could she be doing so early? It's highly suspect. She could no longer ignore the gnawing feeling of dread. Perhaps she would ask Elowen upon their next meeting. She yawned and slowly pulled herself out of bed. With or without Elowen, she would have to get on with her day. Cassidy hummed a little tune to herself. Okay. Never mind. I thought that was her groaning about getting out of bed. Cassidy hummed a little tune to herself as she cleaned up and prepared breakfast. Sitting down at the table with her bread and morning tea, she glanced at her stationery set left by the vase. A lot has happened. Perhaps I should write Alexander a letter. Golly, I am out of space, yo. I'm all out of space. I'm going to say no. I'm out of... She shook her head. That can wait. I can hardly focus when I'm so preoccupied with where Elowen has gone. She wondered if the other woman would visit again today. Though always lonesome before, the former princess's life now felt so much emptier without Elowen's presence. Though she could be accustomed to such solitude, she could barely concentrate on her usual chores. To think that a few days could change a person so. In the lull of her activities, Cassidy's gaze went to the window. Deep in the forest, her beloved wisteria tree stood. She could see it so clearly in her mind's eye. Golly! This is... wow. I mean, both of these are good choices. I wonder if she is there. I wonder if she is there now, somewhere in the forest. She passed the rest of the day peacefully, but with a sense of unease. Why did you not go and see her? The next day came, and still no Elowen. Cassidy was left with nothing but her own thoughts. And thinking of Elowen perturbed Cassidy greatly. In the last several days, the woman had embedded herself into Cassidy's life like a thorn. I never expected to become close to another person again. She thought about Elowen and the things the other woman had said, the hours spent together that were so few, but felt an impossible eternity. I never did ask her about her feet. Why are her toes always curled? Despite how she looks, she must be much older than me. She has a proper way of speaking and always says she's lived in the forest a long time. And with the intricacy of her clothing and her manners, something did not quite add up. Elowen did not seem to like people much. Certainly, it did not seem her presence in the wood, despite how long it had been, was known to many. Alexander most probably would not have sent me here if it was known that a beautiful woman was living alone in this very wood. Where did Elowen come from? Why was she alone? She still had no satisfactory answer. And oddest of all, I still have never seen her eat. That's kind of what I'm out of it. I am actually out of save slots. I'm out. I have one left. That's it. I'm going to call her Unearthly. Cassidy suddenly realized that all of the things she knew about Elowen pointed to something potentially horrible. She'd been so overcome by the woman's peculiar charm and beautiful looks that she had overlooked something. Cassidy shook her head. Perhaps she was jumping to conclusions too quickly. I must be a little lonely, that's all. I haven't seen her since that night. She can be blunt, perhaps, but I believe she means well. Remembering the last several days. Well, she's not a monster. Come on. This is... I'm out of slaves. Cassidy's gaze fell upon her latest letter draft to Alexander sitting upon the table. She had started it the night before, after a day spent all alone. Her thoughts naturally drifted to her brother. If I leave here, if one day Alexander allows me to leave, what else awaits me? Is a political marriage truly my only means of escape? If I could be useful to the kingdom in any way, is that better? Will my life no longer be considered a waste?
I am out of save slots.
Alexander.
Completely out. Give me another page, please. Did you ever truly love me?
Did you ever truly love me? Is the precious younger brother that I once knew completely gone? Are you truly the one who has been writing me these letters?
One negative thought spiraled into a dozen. She let out a long sigh. Her thoughts had taken her on a not-so-merry chase.
If I dwell on these thoughts, there will be no end to them.
She brewed herself a cup of tea to calm her nerves and began reading a new book. From time to time, her eyes went somewhat nervously to the window. And so evening fell. Cassidy was sitting on the divan enjoying a warm cup of tea as she read the latest book her brother had sent her. It was a darker tale than she was accustomed to, the tale of a tragic young mermaid. It seemed to be a fairy tale from a faraway land. Certainly Varamir had simpler, happier stories. Or perhaps those were the only ones she had been allowed to learn.
Goodness, every step she takes feels like walking upon knives. How dreadful! How could this author be so terribly cruel? Huh, perhaps that is what ails Elwyn. No, that would be ridiculous.
Suddenly, the front door to the cottage swung open without knock or warning. Cassidy dropped her book in alarm. There was something dreadful standing in the doorway.
A monster!
Cassidy muttered this under her breath, overcome by fear and awe.
It is not safe here.
Yet no matter the appearance, Cassidy would never mistake that voice. Melodious, she had found it not long ago. Beautiful, she had thought its bearer until this very moment. She would be hard-pressed to describe Elwyn as beautiful now.
What did you say? There's a large army approaching from the east. They wear your colors. Alexander.
Cassidy could not help but gasp. The monster nodded.
I'm afraid so. You must away with me.
What is this? Golly. Cassidy bit her lip.
Alexander would not harm me. If anything, they must be here to protect me from this monster. Yes, of course.
Quickly grasping the situation, the ex-princess calmed herself and tapped into her many years of diplomacy lessons.
I will come right away. Then, would you mind waiting for me outside? I will gather my things quickly. Yes. I won't be but a moment. Of course.
The monster turned and left through the still open door, its movements slow and measured as always. What is going on, man? This fiend took a turn. As soon as Elwyn was outside, Cassidy flew forward and slammed the door shut.
Cassidy?
Ignoring Elwyn's sad, feeble voice, Cassidy locked and bolted the door. For good measure, she dragged the divan in front of it. The door shook as Elwyn tried to enter, but would not give way.
Why? How could I possibly heed the words of a monster? Who knows what you will do to me once you have me outside? She must be a demon, here to corrupt me. It is just as Alexander said to the barons. I allowed your beauty, your charm to corrupt me. I have sinned, but I will sin no longer.
Is this the choice that I made?
Why? Be gone, monster! Darken my doorstep no more!
Elwyn said nothing in reply. But then, wordlessly, the monster ambled toward the windows.
Oh no, I didn't think about blocking those.
But the monster made no move to enter forcefully. It just stood there with the same blank look on his face. In some ways, Cassidy felt that was worse. Had Elowen moved just enough to follow her words to the letter, to darken the doorstep no more? It seemed like something she might do. The thought made Cassidy's heart ache ever so slightly. And the night passed like that, with Cassidy pressed against the door in fear and Elowen standing in place, still as a tree. Watching. Eventually, after what felt like a lifetime, the sun rose.
It's finally morning. If the army truly is coming, I wish they'd get here sooner. The day breaks.
Cassidy looked to the window in alarm. Could it be that Elowen hadn't slept either? Elowen stood there, still, looking even more haggard than she had the night before. The monster's gaze was unfocused. It seemed not to be looking at Cassidy, but rather through her.
I have failed. I could not understand the most important thing. I could not convey my love without a voice. And so, this wisteria must wither in the harsh light of Seventh Day Past.
Is she the other wisteria tree? Before Cassidy's eyes, Elowen crumbled into wilted wisteria petals and dust. The monster, the woman, was no more. Deep in the wood, a wisteria tree once adored by a maiden withered and died away as well.
When bargain is struck, its terms must be met. Else take on your fate, and more suffering beget.
Ash to ash, end. Golly, how did I... Dang it all! Okay, let's check out... Okay. Well, we got so much time left today, we can at least try and get another something. What in the world is this? Oh, cool. I think I unlocked some of these that I wasn't supposed to. Okay, ignore those, ignore those. Golly gee willikers. Let's go back here. And go back to... Let's just choose this one, because... Yeah. She knew the truth, perhaps. Yeah, she was afraid to accept it. It feels so weird to just hop right back into the story after that. Without her love for her brother, her loyalty to her kingdom, she was nothing.
Alexander, I trust that you will do what's best for me and for Varamir. I will await your decision.
She could not think of Elowen, however, without feeling a twinge of guilt. She let out a long sigh. Her thoughts had taken her on a not-so-merry chase. And we auto through. Do we get the same ending no matter what we choose for that? Kind of looks like it. I'm assuming that particular choice didn't matter. That would be correct.
When it's else and more suffering beget.
Okay, well, at the very least, that means I can get rid of that. I assume a lot of the earlier options gave us different endings. Remembering the last several days. Do I want to call her truly monstrous? Cassidy's gaze fell upon her latest letter draft to Alexander sitting upon the table. She had started it in the night before after a day spent all alone. Her thoughts naturally drifted to her brother. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, let me go back to load. Let me delete that because, yeah, at some point the choices you make don't matter. Looks like it might have been that point or earlier. Okay, well, I was able to at least get rid of that. What's the most latest one I have? It's this, isn't it? Elowyn is like that tree.
Elowyn is very much like that tree. She said as much herself. So beautiful and haunting and alone.
The other woman's words from the night before weighed heavily on Cassidy. She passed the rest of the night peacefully, but with a sense of unease. Oh, she's strange. I never did that. Back up. Save here. No, back up one more. Save there. She is strange. Let's go with that.
She is rather strange. Then again, there is nothing normal about my situation either. This only means I have more things to discover about her in future.
She shook her head. Even if Elowyn was a tad strange, Cassidy knew there was more to her than that. Wasn't there?
She can be blunt, perhaps, but I believe she means well.
Ah, boy. Golly. Does this not matter either? I think it's a combination of... Oh my goodness, this is a different ending. Let's go. Oh, we got a different ending. You need a different, like, order of operations. Okay. While Cassidy sat on the divan contemplating whether or not she wanted to go on a walk, the door to the college cottage burst open. There was a monstrous-looking creature in her doorway. It breathed deep, ragged breaths.
You must leave this place.
It was only when she heard the monster's voice that Cassidy realized this was Elowyn. Yet she was no longer the Elowyn whom Cassidy was familiar with.
What are you saying? It is not safe here. What?
Elowyn grabbed at Cassidy's arm, her nails digging into the exiled princess's soft flesh.
Ouch! Come now!
Protesting loudly all the way, Cassidy was dragged outside. Cassidy had no earthly idea why Elowyn was behaving this way, why she looked this way.
What does she mean it's not safe?
She began to fear that this was a trap, one that had been previously laid and was now snapping shut.
Stop this!
After a long while of walking and pleading with Elowyn to listen, Cassidy was finally able to yank her arm from the monster's grip.
You come to me like this, with no explanation, and expect me to follow you? Like this? Do you even know how you currently appear? What kind of monster are you?
Elowen froze in place. For several seconds, she did not move. Finally, she slowly brought her hands up to her face. She appeared to be looking at them for the first time.
So, you find me disgusting, do you? Monstrous?
Cassidy quickly regretted her rash words.
I should not have said it like that. It was not very regal of me. Perhaps there is an explanation for all this.
Yet when her gaze drifted to Elowen's countenance, she could feel nothing but revulsion. Their eyes met. Cassidy recoiled in disgust. Suddenly, Elowen began to shake.
Elowen?
She thought the monster might be crying, but... Elowen was laughing hysterically. She doubled over, clutching her sides as she laughed and laughed. Then she looked up once more and met Cassidy's gaze. Her feigned gaiety ceased immediately.
What a fool I was to think that you could understand me.
Cassidy felt a stabbing pain in her abdomen. It burned. It was agony. She turned her gaze downward and saw that Elowen had impaled her with her arm, now somehow sharp as a blade.
That you could love me. I was right. She's...
What's with these bad endings?
Crying.
Cassidy's heart still beat for a short while after that. She was dimly aware of something clawing, rummaging through her entrails. She was dimly aware of the sound of something eating. Oh, man.
Where is her heart? She said I must devour it to be free. I beg you, Mother, release me.
Tears and blood mingled on two women's faces and became inseparable. And then there was no one there but a monster and the corpse upon which it fed.
Golly, man!
Monster, monster, where dost thou roam? Hast thou a heart? Hast thou a home? Human, thou art monster true, so criticize me not. I will chew thy dainty bones, and I leave thy flesh to rot. Dining as lovers do. Gee willikers! Oh, I'm getting them in order. This is awful. I don't think I want to try another one. I want to delete that one is what I want to do. Which one was it? This? Yeah. Load. Nope. Back. Load. And delete. Okay. I don't know how I could have gotten that any worse. I assume I'm coming back Friday. I will gladly cheat to figure out how to get the good ending to this game. This is awful. I hated that second ending more than the first. Man. If you guys want to get a much better ending than I did, get the game, play it yourself, please. Please get the good ending. Please, I beg of you. Oh, that is so... Did not like that. Okay, well, that was Without a Voice. I think we understand a little bit more about who it is without a voice, but I assume I'm coming back to play this more on Friday. Hopefully we learn a lot more then. It's on PC and consoles this week. Go get it. Thank you to Andrew Rye for being here. Shout out to that bot, late as always. Boy, you could do better. Do better, bot. You stupid bot. You absolute stupid bot. Couldn't do better? That's embarrassing. I would be embarrassed if I was your programmer, honestly. Anyway, shout out to the lurkers and shout out to everyone watching on YouTube afterwards. I assume I'll be back on Friday where I'll be continuing this, and I hope to get a much better ending. At least I got trophies. On behalf of East Asia Soft, I have been Skull. Have yourselves a great day and a great week, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.